You hear people say, it's really difficult for me because I'm
Yes.
from, or I am, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Um, and what are your thoughts on kind of just changing that narrative to, it doesn't matter, whatever, right? Like it doesn't matter it's down to me and my thoughts, and I can do it
Yeah.
wherever I'm from. You
Absolutely.
get
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. It's about how you define yourself. So if you define yourself, as, a woman or a man, or from a council estate, or, from the school you went to, or the friends you have, or the country you come from, or the color of your skin, or how much money you've got, or all of that stuff, if you define yourself in those terms, then you'll for always feel out of control within your circumstances and feel different. The trick is to really define yourself by who you are. We're all so unique, and yet when we feel different to other people, we have this feeling like we need to change. Don't change. Be you, but be the best you.
yeah,
Be
yeah.
the best version of you.
And also,
Um,
I think it's probably worth noting as well that a lot of people struggle with this, finding it. I read a great book by a guy called Bill George called Finding Your True North, if you've read it. Really great book. And that's about leadership. Yeah, and even folks that are like kind of far on in their career, and they're in a leadership role, or they're entering their first leadership role, and they're trying to work out what their leadership means. And this is all linked to find what's your purpose, what are your
yeah,
values, how do you find your
exactly.
true north.
Your
And I
true
think,
north. Yeah.
yeah, and I just think, also it's just, a lot of people, it takes a while to find.
So it can be really fast. So this is my other challenge to everybody that listens to this podcast. So you are the world expert on you. All you've got to do is create a small amount of time to reflect and describe yourself. And we've got a freebie. So if you go on to beyourselfatwork.com, a pop-up will come up, okay? And you can actually click on the free values experience. And in
Awesome.
5 minutes, you can define 3 values, put in your contact detail, your email address or something. I am will actually email you how to use them. And that's just a starting set. And I've made a commitment this year that over the next 2 months, we're going to release a version of I Am that helps anybody applying for a job to create their own value set and actually apply for that job so that they're recruited for who they are as well as what they know. And that's going to be
Nice.
available for anybody everywhere. Yeah,
Love that. I love that. What can companies do anything to help their people do this?
completely. Oh, totally. Again, it's about encouraging people to find and use their own power and understand who they are. The most advanced companies that we see, they get the fact that you can't have a homogenized culture. If in order to be able to get the best behaviors for the leaders to get the best out of people, the managers, you've got to create a philosophy that people can be them. You've got to recruit people for who they are. You've got to help people to have confidence in themselves and acknowledge that we're all making it up as we go along. At the moment, the world is still, certainly from a learning development perspective, by old school models, business school thinking, and all of that's great when it comes to strategy and business and all of that stuff. But actually, as people, any organization that really comes forward and says, we want you to be you, we're going to help you to understand you, we're going to help you to really make your difference here. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's incredible. It's incredible. I mean, I think, you talked about the 1970s, and maybe in the 1970s, a lot of people had stayed somewhere for quite a while, right? It
Mm.
was the kind of the job for life. Leaders could use the paycheck to knock people over the head, and so forth. Now, I mean, the game has changed incredibly. If someone isn't happy in a company,
Yeah.
they're off, right?
Yeah.
They're off
They'll go
completely.
completely.
So, yeah, I posted about this the other day. Like if you're focusing as a company just on your profit and your company's success, you're missing a massive trick. If you focus on making your people successful,
Yes.
then guess what's going to happen? People are going to stay longer. They're going to work better. Everyone's going to do better. The whole thing. And I think there's a fundamental shift now that people are starting to make. More need to make it. To focus more on people and individuals. Everyone's unique. And to your point on culture, it used to be, we've got a great culture. We have free food. We had a foosball table. You
Pool
can play
table,
pool.
yeah, all
You
of
know,
that stuff.
it's Friday. Drinks from 3 o'clock, and we've got an amazing culture. Actually, I think it's the really good culture is like the leader or whoever, just people caring about each other.
Yeah, I
Like, Liz, how
agree.
you doing?
Yeah,
What's going on?
even asking, "How's your weekend? How are you feeling today?" But I think the other thing we talk about, which I know for some people is controversial because it's a lot ahead of its time. We know that because of the work we do, is actually help people to feel more accountable for how they feel. So we're still in this sort of
How do you do
epidemic
that?
of feedback. Well, yeah, easily. So at the moment, what we do is we go, right, you're a manager, you have to tell that person how great they are. You need to give them feedback. So what happens is that, so if I work for you, I'm expecting you to go, oh, Liz, you're doing a really great job. I think you're great. Da, da, da. And I go, oh, good. Okay. But we know most of us can't accept a compliment fully. Over 65% of us just bat it off. We measure it. Okay. We just won't hear it. But actually, that is a strategy to fuel my confidence. It's outside of me. So my resilience, I can't control my resilience. I'm reliant on you for a gold star to a certain extent, or whatever it is. And so I'm actually completely reliant on externals around me. So instead of saying, Liz, Lewis, I'm your manager, Lewis. I think you've done a really great job there. Well done. And I just bat it off or whatever, or I'm relying on it to fuel my confidence. Say, Liz, what about that was really good? Talk to me. Okay. Tell me what was fantastic about the job that you've just done. I am then forced to go, oh, okay, so maybe I did do a good job there. So maybe I actually got my ducks in a row and I knew my numbers or whatever it happened to be. Um, I'm fueling my own sense of resilience and self rather than relying on something I'm just batting off all the time. So let's stop telling our managers to give feedback to people and tell our managers and people to actually help each other to compliment themselves.
No, I love that. And just kind of connecting that to your earlier points of, of yourself taking responsibility and your self-talk and the whole thing. Imagine when you're at a point where you're telling yourself you've done an incredible job. And actually all of this external stuff, great. I mean, whatever, almost doesn't even matter because you know how good you are. And when you know
Yeah,
how good you are, not in an arrogant way, you can be arrogant in your head, right? Um, which is maybe a good,
there's nothing wrong with knowing your strengths.
yeah. And actually quadruple down on them.
Yeah.
So whatever you always people focus so much on this, you talk about feedback. It's the feedback, a lot of the feedback's on your weaknesses or your development
Mm,
areas or whatever, but quadruple down on the strengths. They're your
completely.
superpowers, you know?
Exactly. And use your superpowers and be open to the things that aren't your superpowers and help and allow other people to be them to kind of like join those things up so that as a team and as a collective you're just amazing. Yeah.
No, I love that. I love that. Well, what do you think about this? This is interesting. So obviously we're talking about bringing yourself to work, right?
Mm.
Your whole self to work. And do you think that's a distinction between bringing your authentic self to work, or is that the same thing?
It's for us in be yourself at work language, it's the same thing.
Same
So
thing. Okay, fine,
it's the same
fine.
thing. So it comes back to the labels, the
Okay,
generational
fine.
labels,
And
the
so and so
yeah.
on that, and so on that,
Mm.
there's also there's been so much conversation on it, and I think it's great. Um, but more and more, like I speak to people in companies and stuff, and you say, people say, well, companies say, it's the culture. Bring your authentic self to work. Bring your whole self to work. We embrace diversity. We're inclusive of everyone and stuff. But so much actually, you feel like people say, bring your authentic self to work as long as you believe what I believe. Otherwise, leave some of that at home, right? And
Yeah.
and so obviously, specifically, you kind of think about these emotive topics that people are told not to speak about at work, like politics,
Mm.
religion, football,
Yeah.
whatever, just things that can
Yeah.
be quite emotive.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
Yeah. No, it's a really good question. It We've got to help. We've got to be ourselves, but we've also got to accept that other people aren't like us. Okay. So I'll give you an example with our one that we work one on one. It's a bit like coaching, be yourself at work, and over 70% of the time in the first 2 or 3 calls, no matter what industry, with whatever people, we're helping that person to cope with working with the people they have to work with.
Right.
And it's not because, I know, it's not because the other people are awful or, need to be got rid of or taken to a tribunal most of the time and those kind of things. It's just that those people are different to that person. And what we do as individuals within the world of work generally is if you're different, you're wrong. I'm right, you're wrong. And I unconsciously expect everybody to be like me. And of course, we're all different and we're all unique. So it's really about creating that environment where you go within yourself. Okay, this is what makes me me. And I'm going to find out what makes you you and everyone else. And I'm going to really help you to be you. And I'm going to be me. And I'm not going to make you wrong because you're not like me or you say something different. Um, so it's really about helping people to be super self aware and championing difference, championing an inclusive environment where people can actually use their own sense of independence and self rather than
Yeah.
just a homogenization of what the leader says or
Yeah.
how they act.
Yeah, no, true. Look, I mean, I think some of the best folks I know, some of the most successful people, they lean in with curiosity. Like they actually they wanna understand people, and to understand people, you have to listen to them.
Yes.
And it's only the top few that get to the top, right? And I do see this in those folks that make it. It's they want to understand people, and humans are weird because many of us have a real problem with having a conversation with someone who disagrees with us without it turning into an argument.
Yes.
You see it all the
Agreed.
time, right?
Yep.
And just think of the most emotive thing you can possibly think of. Can you just sit down and have a conversation with someone, try and understand their perspective? Because there's many perspectives on things, right?
Yeah.
Um, and but can you work effectively in a high performing team with someone that you fundamentally disagree with? I think that's just such an interesting thing. And if you can, if you're leaning with curiosity, if you appreciate there's other perspectives and stuff, then I think this is such a great strength. As all of this AI stuff takes hold, that human skill of whether it's curiosity, being empathetic, understanding and stuff is going to take you far, I think.
Oh, completely. Exactly. It's really just understanding people and each other totally. And being open to that and not needing to be right all the time. And that comes back to the confidence to say, I need to prove that I'm worthy to be here. So I'm going to demonstrate and change and push and challenge and all of those kind of things so that I look more competent. I've got to
Yeah.
eradicate that.
Have to. And the thing is also because you step out of work and you have like social media platforms and the media and everything's very, there's arguments on Twitter, there's like, there's counter arguments online. I mean, it's just
Mm,
so much, so many arguments and conversations and stuff. And I think, when you enter the workplace, you should be able to bring your whole self to work, and
completely.
you should be able to, lean in and have conversations and listen and learn and don't be, what's the word? I'd say aggressive, but just be open. Be open to a conversation, and it will take you far.
Yeah, and then understand who you are as well, which is fundamental. I'll never forget. I once went to have a meeting. Of taken me a long time to go and have this conversation with a head of learning and development. It's a long time ago, and people tell me all sorts of things. I've just got one of those personalities where people would just share that my energy. And this individual said, "I think I'm going to leave." I think, "Oh no, it's taking me a long time to get this meeting." Anyway, so the door was closed. And, well, what's causing that? What is it that you think needs to change? What's making you think you need to go and work somewhere else? And this individual said, I just can't be myself here. I said, well, what's stopping you being yourself? And they said, my boss. And I said, what is it about your boss? Oh, they're really like corporate, a bit closed. I just feel like I can't approach them. I feel like they can be a bit sort of overly logical. They're not warm. They'll kind of like back me off and not really be around and those kind of things. And I said to them, okay, does this boss have a family? Oh yeah, got 2 kids and a wife. Right, okay, so okay. Does he cuddle his baby? She was like, "Oh, of course he does." Okay, so if one of the child, the older one, falls over and hurts its knee, does he, give him or her a hug, and look after him and all that kind of stuff. Of course, and us women, it doesn't matter the size of your salary. Ultimately, we're not going to marry a cold, dry, unemotional person. This person, your boss, has got a lovely character. Everybody has this amazing set of values and character. He's just not bringing it here. And so, actually, if you can help him to understand who he is and all these things, that warm, lovely father, husband, caring, kind, supportive, I'm here for you, advising, whatever, to his leadership and your world, wow, and that's the power of just understanding you.
Love that. Love that. What is it about the work that makes people change then? It's weird,
Exactly.
right? It's like they're whatever you just described, a super
I know.
caring, compassionate, happy father, puts the suit on or the virtual suit, whatever, and
Becomes
it's like,
cold, measured,
yeah,
logical,
yeah,
closed. I mean, we actually, as a movement, we ban the term employer and employee. We refuse to use it on our website. We're really like fanatical about it, because it just creates this divide, this silo. We think we work for an organization. Well, an organization is just a set of people. That's all it is.
yeah.
And people that you see every day and work with every day, and maybe have work friends with.
Yeah, it's the same as the term work-life balance. I mean, the opposite of life is death, and people equate work to death. Come
Yes.
on, it's never, it's not going to work, is it? You could be like, oh
No,
no, I've got to go to it.
I know, I know. And the happiest people I know in the world of work, and there's many of them, not enough, are the ones that don't need to have the divide. They actually, and they're not
Integrated.
always in jobs that they love, but what they do is they have a different mental view of work, a different narrative that just says it's a bigger part of my life, an important part of my life, just like my kids, my family, my friends, my hobbies, everything else. And there's no divide.